We are live. We are live. Hello, hello, hello. And welcome to Book Club. Happy Monday, everyone. And it's so exciting to see you all. Well, I don't see you, but you see me. Hey, guys. So let me know what you did this weekend. Let me know as you're logging on what city, what state, and or what country you are joining me from. I want to say hello to you. I'm watching on the screen here. I see Sally Isaac is here from South Carolina. Who else is with us and where are you logging in from? Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. And for those of you, maybe this is your first time joining us, my name is Nina Moore, and I am excited to host this book club. We are currently reading Think and Grow Rich. And there was a time in my life when I really did not enjoy reading. And I want you to understand that reading is so fundamental. It's paramount. It is very important, especially if you want to elevate your life. You elevate your life and you elevate your life by elevating your mind, right? Your mind has to go where you have not gone. And so book club is vitally important because you cannot pour from an empty cup. Book club is vitally important because you're never going to earn more than you learn. Book club is vitally important because leaders are readers. And it is vitally important to be here with me on Mondays, right? And so we're going to dive in, you guys. We've been enjoying this book now. I will tell you that this is a book. I see you, Beaufort, Georgia. I see Georgia is in the house tonight, right? I will tell you that I read this book before, and for those of you who are like, oh, I read that book before, I don't need to really get on book club. I am here to tell you that books hit different when you are different. And so this book for me, hello, Dawn Frazier. I see Flint, Michigan, and Virginia is in the house. Books will hit you differently when you are different. And I feel like this is like my first time ever. My hair is sticking out all over. I can see it on screen. Y'all, it's just driving me crazy, right? So I feel like this is the first time that I've read this book. So what I need you all to do before we get started is I need you to share. Share this with people. I'm going to go ahead and take my phone. I'm not talking to anybody, but I want to go ahead and grab the link and share it with people on Facebook so that people can actually join us. We definitely, because sharing is caring. So I'm going to ask every single one of you, if you wouldn't mind, to share this on your Facebook profiles. Let's get some people watching this with us and growing with us, letting them know book club is live. Okay, we're going to let them know that book club is live, and we want them to log in with us on book club. So I'm sharing it there. I'm going to go ahead and share it to my other Facebook page, and then we're going to get this party started. Here's what's so amazing about book club. You do not even need the book to join into all the fun. I am literally going to read this for you. And I used to even invite people to come into the studio, but people didn't come in. So I am here in the studio by myself, but it's okay. We're still going to have fun. You can comment, and I'll read your comments, and I'll see if you have any questions. We will try to answer them. Book club is live. How about I need to say is live, right? Is live. Join us. Join us. We definitely want to make sure, put it, if you're in different groups, put it in there. Let people join us for book club. This is strictly about learning and growing together. Nothing else, just strictly to learn and grow together. So I'm going to share this in a bunch of different groups that I'm in so that everybody can grow together. All right, you guys? All right. So, all right, let's go ahead and figure out where it is that we left off. And we left off. Okay, here we go. We left off a pretty after dinner speech for $1 billion. So in the chat, I need you all to let people know how you're feeling about this book, because there are some people, especially people who don't enjoy reading, that may not even understand the importance of why we need to be here on book club together. Let everybody know, what is this book doing for you? What is being in this environment where the book is being read for you? What is that doing for you? Do you feel that this book is making an impact in your life? I know for me, it is definitely the right book at the right time for me and for where I'm at in my personal journey, in my business journey. And so I'm very, very excited about what we're experiencing in book club, right? So a pretty after dinner speech for $1 billion. Again, we're reading Think and Grow Rich. I have the large print edition so that I could see to read it to you all. So when on the evening of December the 12th, 1900, some 80 of the nation's financial nobility gathered in the banquet hall of the University Club on Fifth Avenue to do honor to a young man from out the West, not half a dozen of the guests realized they were to witness the most significant episode in American industrial history. J. Edward Simmons and Charles Stewart Smith, their hearts full of gratitude for the lavish hospitality bestowed on them by Charles M. Schwab during a recent visit to Pittsburgh, had arranged the dinner to introduce the 38-year-old steel man to Eastern banking society. But they didn't expect him to stampede the convention. They warned him, in fact, that the bosoms within New York's stuffed shirts would not be responsive to oratory, and that if he didn't want to bore the Stillmans and Harrimans and Vanderbilts, he had better limit himself to 15 or 20 minutes of polite vaporings and let it go at that. So basically, he was like, don't talk too much, don't preach too long, right? Y'all should get a laugh out of that. Y'all know how the pastors be like, this is my last point. Give me 5 more minutes. So basically, they were telling him, don't even try it. Don't even try it. Be polite, give some gestures, ha ha, kiki kaka, right? Or you're gonna bore them to death. So even John Pierpont Morgan, sitting on the right hand of Schwab, as became his imperial dignity, intended to grace the banquet table with his presence only briefly. And so far as the press and the public were concerned, the whole affair was of so little moment that no mention of it found its way into print the next day. So basically, they told him, don't say much of anything. He did what they said, and then it didn't even hit the print. There was no news to talk about because he did what they said and he kept it really brief. So the two hosts and their distinguished guests ate their way through the usual 7 or 8 courses. There was little conversation, and what there was of it was restrained. Few of the bankers and the brokers had met Schwab, whose career had flowered along the banks of the Monongahela, and none knew him well. But before the evening was over, they, and with them Money Master Morgan, were to be swept off their feet, and a $1 billion baby, the United States Corporation, was to be conceived. It is perhaps unfortunate for the sake of history that no record of Charlie Schwab's speech at the dinner ever was made. He repeated some parts of it at a later date during a similar meeting of Chicago bankers. And still later, when the government brought suit to dissolve the Steel Trust, he gave his own version from the witness stand of the remarks that stimulated Morgan into a frenzy of financial activity. It is probable, however, that it was a homely speech, somewhat ungrammatical, for the 90s of language never bothered Schwab, full of epigram and threaded with wit. But aside from that, it had a galvanic force and an effect upon the 5 billions of estimated capital that was represented by the diners. After it was over and the gathering was still under its spell, although Schwab had talked for 90 minutes. So he didn't talk short. He talked for 90 minutes. Morgan led the orator to a recessed window where, dangling their legs from a high comfortable seat, they talked for an hour more. The magic of the Schwab personality had been turned on full force, but what was more important and lasting was the full-fledged, clear-cut program he laid down for the aggrandizement of steel. Many other men had tried to interest Morgan in slapping together a steel trust after the pattern of the biscuit wire and hoop, sugar, rubber, whiskey, oil, or chewing gum combinations. John W. Gates, the gambler, had urged it, but Morgan distrusted him. The Moore boys, Bill and Jim, Chicago stock jobbers, who had glued together a match trust and a cracker corporation, had urged it and failed. Albert H. Gary, the sanctimonious country lawyer, wanted to foster it, but he wasn't big enough to be impressive until Schwab's eloquence took J.P. Morgan to the heights from which he could visualize the solid results of the most daring financial undertaking ever conceived. History was made that night in the steel industry. The project was regarded as a delirious dream of easy money crackpots. The financial magnetism that began a generation ago, I love that word, the financial magnetism that began a generation ago to attract thousands of small and sometimes inefficiently managed companies into large and competition-crushing combinations had become operative in the steel world through the devices of that jovial business pirate, John W. Gates. Gates already had formed the American Steel and Wire Company out of a chain of small concerns, and together with Morgan, had created the Federal Steel Company. The National Tube and American Bridge companies were two more Morgan concerns, and the Moore brothers had forsaken the match and cookie business to form the American Group: tin, plate, steel, hoop, sheet steel, and the National Steel Company. But by the side of Andrew Carnegie's gigantic vertical trust, a trust owned and operated by 53 partners, those other combinations were picayune. They might combine to their heart's content, but the whole lot of them couldn't make a dent in the Carnegie organization, and Morgan knew it. The eccentric old Scot knew it too. From the magnificent heights of Skibo Castle, he had viewed first the amusement and then the resentment, the attempts of Morgan's smaller companies to cut into his business. Those things happen still today, y'all. Right? To cut into his business. When the attempts became too bold, Carnegie's temper was translated into anger and retaliation. He decided to duplicate every mill owned by his rivals. Hitherto, he hadn't been interested in wire, pipe, hoops, or sheet. Instead, he was content to sell such companies the raw steel and let them work it into whatever shape that they wanted. Now, with Schwab as his chief and able lieutenant, he planned to drive his enemies to the wall. So it was that in the speech of Charles M. Schwab, Morgan saw the answer to his problem of combination. A trust without Carnegie, giant of them all, would be no trust at all. A plum pudding, as one writer said, without the plums. Schwab's speech on the night of December the 12th, 1900, undoubtedly carried the inference through not the pledge that the vast Carnegie enterprise could be brought under the Morgan tent. So there was a merger that took place. He talked of the world future for steel, of reorganization for efficiency, of specialization, of the scrapping of unsuccessful mills, and concentration of effort on the flourishing properties of economies in the ore traffic, of economics and overhead and administrative departments, of capturing foreign markets. What's so crazy is just what was happening then with these businesses that were launching and they were unsuccessful is the same thing that we see happening right now. Businesses are failing. A lot of businesses are have not been able to survive because of COVID, and you're finding bigger corporations starting to buy up these other not small companies, big companies who are laying off by the droves. And those people now, a lot of people are jobless. There are people that are homeless, y'all. And we're finding now that they're now trying to tuck all of these companies into other companies, just like they did here. So where are we at? More than that, he told the buccaneers among them, wherein lay the errors of their customary piracy, their purposes, he inferred, had been to create monopolies, raise prices, and pay themselves fat dividends out of the privilege. Schwab condemned the system in his heartiest manner. The short-sightedness of such a policy, he told his hearers, lay in the fact that it has restricted the market in an era when everything cried for expansion. By cheapening the cost of steel, he argued. An ever-expanding market would be created, more uses for steel would be devised, and a goodly portion of the world trade could be captured. Actually, though he did not know it, Schwab was an apostle of modern mass production. So the dinner at the University Club came to an end. Morgan went home to think about Schwab's rosy predictions. Schwab went back to Pittsburgh to run the steel business for Andrew Carnegie, right? While Gary and the rest went back to their stock tickers to fiddle around in anticipation of the next move. It was not long coming. It took Morgan about 1 week to digest the feast of reasons Schwab had placed before him. When he had assured himself that no financial indigestion was to result, he sent for Schwab and found that young man rather coy. Mr. Carnegie, Schwab indicated, might not like it if he found his trusted company president had been flirting with the emperors of Wall Street, the street upon which Carnegie was resolved never to tread. Isn't that crazy? It's so amazing, you guys. I am a professional network marketer, and it's amazing how you've got a lot of CEOs who won't like it when you talk to other people in other companies. It is the same everywhere. So you got Mr. Carnegie saying, oh, no, you're not. Get ready to go talk to them people on Wall Street. I just had to throw that one in there, right? The emperor of Wall Street, the street upon which Carnegie was resolved never to tread. Then it was suggested by John W. Gates, the go-between, that if Schwab happened to be in the Bellevue Hotel in Philadelphia, J.P. Morgan might also happen to be there also, right? When Schwab arrived, however, Morgan was inconveniently ill at his New York home, and so on the elder man's pressing invitation, Schwab went to New York and presented himself at the door of the financier's library. Now, certain economic historians have professed the belief that from the beginning to the end of the drama, the stage was set by Andrew Carnegie, that the dinner to Schwab, the famous speech, the Sunday night conference between Schwab and the Money King, were events arranged by the canny Scott. The truth is exactly the opposite. When Schwab was called into the consummate to consummate the deal, he didn't even know whether the little bosses, as Andrew was called, would so much as listen to an offer to sell, particularly to a group of men whom Andrew regarded as being endowed with something less than holiness. But Schwab did take into the conference with him, in his own handwriting, 6 sheets of copper plate figures, representing to his mind the physical worth and the potential earning capacity of every steel company he regarded as an essential star in the new metal firmament. 4 men pondered over these figures all night. The chief, of course, was Morgan, steadfast in his belief in the divine right of money. With him was an aristocratic partner, Robert Bacon, and a scholar and a gentleman. The third was John W. Gates, whom Morgan scorned as a gambler and used as a tool. The fourth was Schwab, who knew more about the processes of making and selling steel than any whole group of men then living throughout the conference. The Pittsburghers' figures were never questioned. If he said a company was worth so much, then it was worth that much and no more. He was insistent, too, upon including the combination only those concerns he nominated. He had conceived a corporation in which there would be no duplication, not even to satisfy the greed of friends who wanted to unload their companies upon the broad Morgan shoulders. Thus, he left out, by design, a number of the larger concerns upon which the walruses and carpenters of Wall Street had cast hungry eyes. But when dawn came, Morgan rose and straightened his back. Only one question remained. Do you think you can persuade Andrew Carnegie to sell, he asked. Now, mind y'all, Andrew Carnegie ain't want no parts with these people. He said you don't tread on that. And now they're asking Schwab, his right-hand man, to get him, to persuade him to sell. Schwab says, well, I can try. If you can get him to sell, I will undertake the matter, said Morgan. So far, so good. But would Carnegie sell? How much would he demand? Schwab thought about $320 million. What would he take payment in? Common or preferred stocks, bonds, cash? Nobody could raise a third of $1 billion in cash. There was a golf game in January on the frost cracking heath of the St. Andrews Links in Westchester, with Andrew bundled up in sweaters against the cold and Charlie talking volubly as usual to keep his spirits up, but no word of business was mentioned until the pair sat down in the cozy warmth of the Carnegie cottage hard by. Then, with the same persuasiveness that had hypnotized 80 millionaires at the University Club, Schwab poured out the glittering promises of retirement and comfort of untold millions to satisfy the old man's social caprices. Carnegie capitulated, wrote a figure on a slip of paper, handed it to Schwab, and said, "All right, that's what we'll sell it for." Looks like Schwab took a hard no. See, you know what's so amazing, y'all? When I think about, and y'all, I don't know, you guys are quiet tonight as I'm looking at the screen. What's amazing is we're talking about $400 million, $250 million, right? And y'all, you know, people that are in sales are afraid to ask a person for $50, $100. Schwab knew that he was sitting down with Andrew Carnegie, who was a hard no. The figure that Andrew Carnegie wrote on the paper was $400 million and was reached by taking the $320 million mentioned by Schwab as a basic figure and adding to it $80 million to represent the increased capital value over the previous 2 years. Later on the deck of a transatlantic liner, the Scotsman said ruefully to Morgan, "I wish I had asked you for $100 million more. If you had asked for it, you would have gotten it," Morgan said cheerfully. I want you to think about that. Not $10 more, not $50 more, but he said, if you had just asked, you would have gotten it. How does that make you feel right now? If you would have just asked, you would have gotten $100 million more. If you had asked for, you would have gotten it, Morgan told him cheerfully. There was an uproar, of course. A British correspondent cabled that the foreign steel world was appalled by the gigantic combination. President Hadley of Yale declared that unless trusts were regulated, the country might expect an emperor in Washington within the next 25 years. But that able stock manipulator king went at his work of shoving the new stock at the public so vigorously that all the excess water, estimated by some at nearly $600 million, was absorbed in a twinkling. So Carnegie had his millions, and the mortgage syndicate had $62 million for all its trouble. And all the boys from Gates to Gary had their millions too. The 38-year-old Schwab had his reward. He had made president of the new corporation and remained in control until 1930. The dramatic story of big business, which you have just finished, was included in this book because it is a perfect illustration of the method by which desire can be transmuted into its physical equivalent. Again, I want y'all to type that in the chat. It was mentioned in this book because I know many of you are trying to figure out why in the world are we talking about Schwab making this speech and Andrew Carnegie, what's he going to sell? And what does that have to do with anything right now? It has everything to do with what we're reading because this was an illustration of the method by which desire can be transmuted into its physical equivalent. So, I say all the time, Make an ask of yourself. A-S-K. Make an ask of yourself. Period. Make an ask of yourself. Now, I imagine some readers will question the statement that a more intangible desire can be converted into its physical equivalent. Doubtless, some will say you cannot convert nothing into something. The answer is in the story of the United States Steel. There was nothing, and they literally converted nothing into something because of his desire. His desire was transmuted into its physical equivalent, which was the sale. $400 million. Y'all. The giant organization was created in the mind of one man. Where is your success? It's not in your services. It's not in your products. It's in your mind. Because if you can believe it, you can conceive it and achieve it. Conceive, believe, achieve. Conceive, believe, achieve. Conceive, believe, achieve. So you know what's amazing? I was talking to a business partner of mine, and we were mentioning a person that I was speaking kind of highly of. And I said, you can always see on a person when they stop growing. I'm going to say that again. You can always see it physically on a person when they stop growing, because it manifests physically. You can always see it. When a person stops growing, it shows. It shows in the way that they physically look. It shows. Because when you continue to grow, physically, you're going to want to get that body in shape. Mentally, it all starts to fall in line. When you are growing, it all begins to fall in line. You can't think good and not look good. Uh-oh. You can't think good and not look good. Let me just go on and keep reading, because y'all just go on and read, Nina. The plan by which organization was provided with steel mills that gave it financial stability was created in the mind of the same man. His faith, his desire, his imagination, his persistence were the real ingredients that went to United States Steel. While you keep thinking it's about your products and or your services, it is not. It is your faith, your desire, your imagination, and your persistence. Those are the ingredients that go into leading a successful business, a successful ministry, a successful life. The steel mills and mechanical equipment acquired by the corporation after it had been brought into legal existence were incidental. So the stuff that it acquired was incident. It was the bonus. It was by default. But careful analysis will disclose the fact that the appraised value of the properties acquired by the corporation increased in value by an estimated $600 million. Hold on. It didn't increase to 600 million. It says it increased by. The corporation increased in the value by an estimated $600 million by the mere transaction which consolidated them under one management. All a thought. All a thought. He sat down with a man who said, nah, don't even go talk to them people. He sat down with a man, Andrew Carnegie, that was a hard no. And he still turned that around because his faith, his desire, his imagination, and his persistence. By the mere transaction which consolidated them under one management. In other words, Charles M. Schwab's idea plus the faith with which he conveyed it into the minds of J.P. Morgan and the others, was marketed for a profit of approximately $600 million was the profit. Not an insignificant sum for a single idea. What are your ideas costing you? What is your lack of faith costing you? What is your lack of desire costing you? What is your lack of taking action costing you? What is your lack of consistency costing you? How many more times do you need somebody to tell you something good to make the hairs on your neck stand up so that you'll believe in yourself? How many more conversations do you need to motivate you, to inspire you? When if your current situation isn't inspiration enough, if you don't have time freedom, and if you can't not work for the next 2 years, then what are you doing? What are we doing? What is it costing you to keep your mouth shut? What is it costing you to not believe? What is it costing you? I'm not stuck. I want to let that one marinate. I want us to talk about this. What is it costing you? You scared to ask for $100? He asked for 400 million. And then gained 600 million in profit with a person who told him no. What is it costing you? Every time you walk by a person and don't say hello and don't share what you've got. Every time you decide you're going to bed, I don't feel like it today. Every time you decide I'm not doing no reels and TikToks and I'm not posting and I'm not opening up my shop today. And every time you decide, what is it costing you? What happened to some of the men who took their share of the millions of dollars of profit made by this transaction is a matter with which we are not now concerned. See, there it is. I said it earlier today. I don't care how it's going to happen. I was talking to Christina Ross earlier today, and I said, there's some people that I have on my manifestation list. I don't care how it's going to happen. I know that it's going to happen. If you would stop being in such a control freak, you know what's crazy? We want to control God. We want to control the outcomes. We want to control what everybody else does, but you can't control your own thoughts or discipline yourself to get up early, go to the gym, go walk and eat less. We can't control ourselves, but we want to be in control of everything and everyone else. That one was for free. I don't know where that one came from. That one was for free. But we want to control God. And I'm telling you, I don't care how it's going to happen. I just know it's going to happen. So that's not important, is what they're saying. The important feature of the astounding achievement is that it serves as unquestionable evidence of the soundness of the philosophy described in this book. Because this philosophy was the warp and the woof of the entire transaction. So if you missed it, if you missed the meaning of what that transaction was, because you didn't like it, bored you. It bored you listening to he had a meeting and he had a dinner and he had a speech, and you might have missed it. But the whole thing, this whole concept of this book, this says, described in this book, because the philosophy was the warp and the woof of the entire transaction. Moreover, the practicability of the philosophy has been established by the fact that the United States Steel Corporation prospered and became one of the richest and most powerful corporations in America, employing thousands of people, developing new uses for steel and opening new markets, thus proving that the $600 million in profit, which the Schwab idea produced, was earned. Riches begin in the form of thought. Somebody ought to put that in the chat. Riches begin in the form of thought. Therefore, the name of the book, Think and Grow Rich, because riches begin in the form of thought. What are you thinking? While you trying to control everything and everybody else, but you can't control your thoughts. What are you thinking? Think and grow rich. Think and grow rich. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. And I'm going to tell you something. You hang around me long enough, and I'm going to have you real convinced that you can. That's probably why people be trying to stay away from me, because they don't even want to be around that energy. I'm telling you right now, you can't bring, you know that song in the Winds, don't nobody bring me no bad news. No bad news. I don't bring it around me. Don't bring your low energy around me. Don't walk in my door with that. Don't come around. Because I only think positive. Period. I don't care what it looks like. It might look like all the chips are stacked. The odds are stacked against me. I don't care. Riches are formed in thought. What are you thinking? I can tell what you're thinking. I can look at you and tell what you're thinking. When you're not present, I can tell what people are thinking. Because it shows. I can tell. I can tell in how you're posting. I can tell. So let's go on. Riches begin in the form of thought. The amount, oh my gosh, the amount, this is so good, is limited only by the person in whose mind the thought is put into motion. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Let me say it again. The amount is limited only by the person in whose mind the thought is put into motion. So your circumstances are not limiting you. Your neighborhood is not limiting you. Your upbringing is not limiting you. Oh, you went through a divorce, that's not limiting you. Where you live, that's not limiting you. You can shop at the thrift store and look real good. You can go to the consignment shops and look real good. You can shop at Walmart and put an outfit together. That is not what's limiting you. It's what you put in your mind that's your real limitation. So this says the amount is limited only by the person in whose mind the thought is put into motion. So someone gives you these thoughts. Someone gives you the idea. Someone offered you an opportunity, and then you won't go put it into motion. Faith removes limitations. Write that in the chat. Faith removes limitations. Remember this when you are ready to bargain with life. When you are ready to bargain with life. Because you're not letting other people down and all. You're bargaining with life. You playing a game with your own life. Every single one of us are given the same amount of time, the same amount of days, the same amount of hours. It's what we choose to do with those days, with those hours. So when I was still working behind the chair and working my network marketing business, I was thinking my way out of that chair. I was thinking my way out from behind that chair. I was listening to the things that I needed to, because the thing is, I did them both. So can't nobody tell me I was a single mom doing it too. Can't nobody tell me. Where there is a will, there is a way. Where there's faith, there's a way. Because faith is action. Faith without works is dead. Faith removes your limitations. Remember this when you are ready to bargain with life for whatever it is that you ask as your price for having passed this way. So when you bargain for life, whatever you ask as a price, you will receive it. What price are you getting right now? What price did you put on your freedom? What price did you put on your abundance? What price did you do on not having lack? What price did you put on it? Because when we read this poem, let me go back. I'm going to go back. Let me finish this. Remember also that the man who created the United States Steel Corporation was practically unknown at that time. He was a nobody. So you think, oh, you know what? Won't nobody really like want to do business with me because I don't have a lot of followers and I don't get a lot of likes and I don't get a lot of comments and I don't get a lot of views and I don't nobody really know me. You are talking yourself out of it. This says, remember also that the man who created the United States Steel Corporation from a thought was practically unknown at the time. And you know what else, y'all? You know what's so crazy, Paul? He ain't had no steel. He created the United States Steel Corporation and he didn't have any steel. He used other people's resources. He talked all of these very wealthy people to come together and bring all their resources together. He didn't have any money. He didn't have any steel. He was a nobody with an idea. Faith removes limitations. Either you believe or you don't. And if you believe, act like it, walk like it, talk like it, move like it, lean with it, rock with it, bounce with it, like it, you believe. Walk with posture. Walk into a room and you think, have arrived with my nobody self. He says he was a nobody. He was merely Andrew Carnegie's Man Friday until he gave birth to his famous idea. After he talked 90 minutes when he was told to speak for 20. After that, he quickly rose to a position of power, fame, and riches because he shared his idea. What he shared was his faith. What was it? His faith, his desire, his imagination, his persistence. And after that, he rose to a position of power, fame, and riches. There are no limitations to the mind except those that we acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are the offspring of thought. There are no limitations to the mind except for those that we acknowledge. I'm going to tell you something. There are times, you guys, that I'll go to do something and I don't know how to do a lot of things, right? But you can ask Paul. I'd be like, but I'm about to learn. And if it takes me a week, if it takes me a month, if it takes me, he literally watched me the other day learning how to create new content. In my stories, I want some of my content to look polished, not just posted, polished. And he watched me try it over and over and over and over again. And he watched me watch it over and over and over and over again until I got it. Because I decided I want to take my stuff to the next level. I want to look different. I want my videos to look different. I want to sound different. I want to walk different. I want when my stuff goes up, it's got to look different. Everybody's got to see that I've elevated to another level. Because after that, he quickly rose to a position of power, fame, and riches. Because there are no limitations to the mind except those that we acknowledge. I don't acknowledge limitations. If I don't know it today, I will. So let me go back because I want to read this poem once again. It was powerful. And I want to read this poem once again. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it's almost certain that you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out of the world we find, success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or to the faster man, but soon or late, the man who wins is the man or the woman, right, who thinks he can. Ladies and gentlemen, there are no limitations in the mind except those we acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are an offspring of thought. Chapter 4, we got a few minutes, you guys. Chapter 4, autosuggestion, the medium for influencing the subconscious mind, which is the third step toward riches. And I don't want to get started there because I don't want to get us all gung-ho and in it. And then, oh, you know what? Maybe I can. What y'all think? Anybody got any questions? You can actually copy the link if they want to come into the studio. You can copy the invite link and put it in the comments. And then what they can do is they can copy the link, and then you'll need to paste it in your browser. If you are on your phone, you will need to paste it in your browser or go to like Safari browser or whatever, and turn your phone sideways, and you can come into the studio with me. Maybe you have a question. I would love to take your questions, even if it's a personal question that you might have for me. And if I can answer it, I will. It's funny because Paige always says, "Mom, I have a question," and I said that I might have an answer, right? It's my famous words back to her. But I would love for some of you to come into the studio with me. And if you don't want to come into the studio, but you have a question, I am looking at the screen here, and Paul can see it before me. I'll take a few questions, and then we'll start at chapter 4 fresh next week. This is so good. And I'm going to tell y'all, I am so grateful. You are looking at a woman who hated to read. But I am so grateful that God gives me divine revelation when I'm reading now, that I am able to make the words jump out of the page so that you understand it and you grasp it even the more, that you feel the power of the words. And God has given me a way with revelation that I am able to kind of get into the author's mind. And that is why I love book club, because I hated to read. And because the books take us to a place that we have not been before, which is why I absolutely love book club. I love serving you guys this way. And so I have much more clarity as well. And I'm just waiting to see. I don't have questions, but I could share if we have time. Come on, copy the link. Jason, copy that link right there and put it in your browser, and you'll be able to come into the studio. Paul will see you in the studio, and he'll add you to the screen. It'll be great. How do you overcome some of your fears? You know what's so crazy? And Paul will tell you. I just do it. Even if I'm afraid, I literally just do it. I don't even think about it. That's really what it is. And what happens is when you put too much thought into it, you'll talk yourself out of it. And if you remember when we went to Florida, we went to Disney, I don't like roller coasters. Like, I'm not like, ooh, got to get on a roller coaster. Matter of fact, I ride more rides now at 51 than I did growing up. Probably because I can fit on them now. I'm not over the weight things and didn't want to be embarrassed, but I've always had a fear of like heights and things like that. I don't like drops. And Christina, we went to Florida, and Paige was like, I think I want to ride the roller coaster. And I figured that she might have backed out once she got up to the front. But Christina, as we began to walk and got closer, she kept saying, I think I'm scared. I think I'm scared. I said, guess what? It's okay to be scared. I said, but guess what you're going to do? You're going to do it anyway. Just because you're scared doesn't mean you don't do it. You do it anyway. And even if the outcome is not the one you wanted, you've got to be proud of the fact that you did it anyway. And you get one step closer to better than you were. So that's pretty much what I do. I don't think, I just do. Even when I'm afraid, even when I don't know what the outcome's going to be, even when I don't know what I'm going to say, I just do. And I just be like, Holy Spirit, activate. And literally, y'all, I say it out loud because I know that it is not in me. It's not of me. It's only God can lead me. Only He can be my words. Literally, I'm not scared often, but when I am afraid, I just do it. I hope that helps. And I know that sounds like it's like cliche, but seriously, it's just what I do. Like big numbers, they're like, whoo, I get razzled, but I don't quit. I don't back down because the number is big. Right? And I just believe that God can do anything. And it doesn't take, if we could watch David defeat Goliath with 3 shiny little stones. Some of you guys are thinking that your Goliath is much bigger than your faith and much bigger than your God. And God is bigger and greater than any Goliath in my life. And so I do it afraid, shaking and all. I'll do it. And let me bring you in. Lean in, Christina, lean in. I'm nervous every single time I have to speak in public. You can ask anybody that knows me, which is why before I speak, I'm very quiet. Before I speak, I'm pacing sometimes. Like, I don't like a lot of people. Before I have to speak, I don't like a lot of people trying to talk to me. And I'm not being rude. I'm being focused. It's almost like, your pastor's get ready to get up and preach and you want to bombard him with a bunch of questions. So I don't look at my phone before a book club. I don't do those things because I am really focused on having my lips pressed to God's ears so that I can deliver, because I realize that somebody's life is in the balance and that my words have power. And so I just want you to know that I know it may not look like it, but I am nervous every single time I have to speak. And that is because I am expecting for God to show up. So it's my humility that I don't think I am like have arrived or whatever. Now I do believe I'm a bad speaker. Like, I am bad to the bone. I'm one of the best. But I am still nervous every single time. So I just wanted y'all to know that. It ain't like I'm, woo. No, I'm nervous just about every single time. Did Jason make it into the studio yet? You may need to give him in Facebook Messenger. You could send it to him in Facebook Messenger. On the screen. So he has to copy that link from the you can't tell I'm nervous. Yeah, you might not be able to tell, but I promise you I am. All right, Jason, copy that link that you see, the invite link. I should have put it in the chat earlier. No, I should have put it in the Facebook Messenger chat. Because Jason, all you got to do is copy that link. And then Paul's getting ready to text it. Oh, he in now. He's in there. Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Nina.
What? All right, I'm gonna look at the screen. Look at the camera. I guess I gotta look at the camera, right, Paul? You gotta turn that volume down.
Man.
What's going on? Don't.
This is.
Turn it back up. Oh, you know what? No. Okay, turn it down. Okay.
This has been surgery.
It's a slight echo. Okay.
Can you hear me?
We gonna get this right. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, this has been surgery. Just with the book club and right now in my life, I have a mentor that, oh my goodness, it's just one thing when somebody sees something in you and you've seen people, people have seen something in you, but because of fears that you did not identify and did not know that you had, it was holding you back. And one of my top fears that my mentor and actually situations are causing me to work through is the fear of criticism. And when it's like broken down, man, it's easy to say out your mouth, "Oh, I don't care what people say." But then how do you react when you have to ask for that 100 million and not seeing the resources that you have around you, which is not necessarily physical non-living things. The resources are people, the people that you have in your circle. Constantly talked about that in this industry. Don't just go blabbing off to whoever. Use other people's credibility. Use other people's experience to help change people's lives. And it's like I'm having right in my face experiences and lessons that's helping me to move forward, and not just business but everything, because that's everything. My mentor is telling me, man, we all had these fears. We just all want to have these 6 fears, right? We're going to have them. But the thing is, they start off as a seed, and it's up to you whether you're going to keep it a seed and not give it growth. There's some fears in my life that I have allowed to grow into trees, and now I'm in a season of pruning and cutting it down so that I could break into this leader, this polished person that is impacting lives, but also by default my family's lives will be impacted, as well as the legacy, the mark that I'm going to leave on this earth. And it takes, like you said, feeling the fear and doing it anyway. I had a small situation like we have a pain relief roll on, and it's crazy how the fears work, man. They could really be dominating if you let them. But I had a situation where my peak mode was on. I could hear, and I heard somebody was having some aches, and I was there with my mentor. They was having a conversation, so me being the nice guy, which I'm breaking out of being the nice guy and being more of the kind person. And, that's a whole nother, I've learned a lot, but just being able to hear that and be like, okay, you know what, I don't really see a worse thing. If they say yes or no, neither one is worse. Neither one is bad. You're just sifting, going through, the numbers and getting to know people, getting to know what their needs are. And no, a lot of times this is not right now. So where's the bad? I don't see, there's no worst case scenario with those two. So the fear is the thing that makes either one bad or good. So just learning a lot, and it's a lot hinging. I see it's so much hinging on me going through these different skill sets, these different, just mastering your mind through these chapters, because it's very, very essential for where I'm going. And letting these spirits grow could kill the person that never is not here yet. So let's get to
And
them.
hold on, that was powerful
Hold on, that was powerful
because you said
because you said
letting these fears
letting
go.
these
If you
fears
don't
go.
let the
If
fears
you don't
go,
let
you
the
literally
fears
could
go,
kill
you literally
the
could
person
kill
that's not
the
even
person
here
that's not
yet.
even here yet.
That is so powerful. And Jason,
That
I
is
want to
so
encourage you. I
powerful.
said, you
And
know,
Jason, I want to
as I'm
encourage you. I
listening
said,
to
you know,
you,
as I'm listening to you,
the hardest thing to do
the hardest thing to do
when you are in a season
when you
of
are in a season
growth,
of
like when you've got to go through the
growth,
vortex.
like when you've got to go through the
So there are different
vortex.
seasons of growth in
So
our
there are
life,
different seasons of growth in our
but
life,
there are some that are
but there are some that
vortex
are
growth
vortex
seasons, which is where you're at
growth
right now.
seasons, which is where you're
It's got
at
to happen,
right
and
now.
it's got to happen
It's
like
got to happen,
shing,
and
the
it's got to
vortex,
happen like
right?
shing, the
There are
vortex,
other times in our
right?
lives
There are
when we
other
can kind
times
of
in
like
our lives
when we're
when
growing,
we
it's
can
like
kind of like
la la
when we're
la la
growing, it's like
la.
la la la
But
la
that's
la.
not this season.
La, that's
This
not
season
this
is like
season. This
the
season
vortex,
is like
right?
the vortex, right?
What's often
What's
difficult,
often
what's
difficult,
not even, it's challenging,
it's challenging,
is when
is when
you're the only one in your
you're the
environment
only one in your environment
wanting change.
wanting change.
It's very difficult.
It's very
And I will
difficult.
tell you, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've
And I
been
will tell you,
there
I've been
where
there.
I
I've
was the
been
only
there
one in my
where I was
circle
the only
eating
one in my
properly,
circle
having to go
eating
to
properly,
dinner
having to
and,
go to
and
dinner
lunches and breakfast
and
with
lunches
people who
and
just was
breakfast
eating
with
whatever.
people who just was
But I
eating
was the
whatever.
one
But
watching
I was
what
the
I was
one
eating.
watching
I
what I
was
was
the
eating.
one on a
I
mission.
was
I was the
one
one
on
on
a
a,
mission.
and
I was the one
what
on a,
happens
and
is, and I want to
what
encourage
happens
you with this,
is, and I want to
because I know
encourage
it's
you
not
with this,
easy.
because I know it's not easy.
But what happens is
But what
you
happens
almost
is
have to go out,
you
and you can't.
almost have to go
We
out
want to
and you can't.
drag
We
everybody
want to
along with
drag
us in the
everybody
water.
along
We want
with us
everybody
in
to
the
come
water.
running into.
We
We
want
do.
everybody to come running into. We do.
But when it
But
comes to growth,
when
especially
it comes to
vortex
growth, especially
you
vortex
have to
growth,
go way
you have to
ahead of
go
people.
way ahead of people.
Way ahead of people.
Way ahead of people.
Yeah.
You can do that. Get 'em.
You can do that. Get 'em.
Sometimes you can.
Sometimes you can.
The problem we have is
The
because we're so
problem we have is
nice
because we so
that we
nice
so
that we
worried
so
about
worried
whether we're able
about
to go back
whether
and
we
get
able to go
there.
back and get
And
there.
here's the thing.
Right.
This
And
is what
here's
people
the
don't
thing.
understand.
This is what people don't understand.
It doesn't mean that you don't
It
love
doesn't
them.
mean that you don't
It
love them.
means you
Right.
chose to love
It means
you.
you chose to love you.
And what happens
Right.
is
And
the
what happens
relationships
is
will
the
change.
relationships will
They
change.
will differ.
They
What'll
will
happen is
differ.
you'll still have
What'll
love for
happen
those
is
people.
you'll
You
still
will
have
still
love for
love
those
them.
people. You will
Right.
But
still
they're
love
in
them.
different
Right.
compartments
But they're
and different
in different
categories.
compartments and different
I
categories.
hope you're understanding what I'm
Right.
saying.
I hope you're understanding what I'm saying.
You
Absolutely.
have to give yourself
You have to give yourself permission
to go and
to
grow.
go and grow.
Mm.
And that's not
And
easy.
that's not easy.
Knowing that there are a
Knowing
lot
that there
of
are a
people
lot of
that you
people
are leaving,
that you
or
are
you
leaving,
feel like
or you
you're
feel
leaving
like
behind. But let
you're
me tell you
leaving
what Gloria
behind. But
Mayfield
let me tell you
Banks
what
said
Gloria
to me
Mayfield Banks said to
in a
me
private
in
luncheon
a
that
private
we had in
luncheon
Philadelphia.
that we had in Philadelphia.
She said,
She
Nina,
said, Nina,
you're not leaving
you're
them.
not leaving them.
They've already left
They've
you.
already left you.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
That one
One
statement changed my life.
changed my
It
life.
freed me up
It freed me up
Mm-hmm.
because I kept
because
feeling
I
like
kept feeling like
I'm leaving
I'm
these
leaving
people
these
and
people and
I don't want to
I
leave
don't want to
them.
lead them.
No,
No,
you're not
you're
leaving
not
them.
leaving them.
Right.
They have
They
left
have
you.
left you.
Right.
So be
So
free.
be free.
The
The
ladder
ladder
to
to
success
success,
only comes to one person
only
at a time.
one person at a time.
Right.
Stairway is
Stairway
open.
is open.
So when you
Right.
So
decide
when you
that you want to
decide
climb
that you
that
want to
ladder
climb
to
that
success,
ladder
and this
to
is for you
success,
and
and this is for
everybody
you
else,
and
that's listening
everybody
to
else.
me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
It's a
lonely
lonely
ride, y'all.
ride, y'all.
Let me
And
tell
let me
you
tell you
something.
something.
We God
God
forced
forced
us
us
to
to
leave
leave
Philadelphia
Philadelphia
since when we
since
were
when we
living
were
in
living in
Ardmore
Ardmore
still.
still.
And the
And
reason
the reason
why
why
he
he
forced
forced
us
us
to
to
leave
leave
Ardmore,
Ardmore,
Pennsylvania
Pennsylvania
at
at
that
that
time
time
was
was
because
because
he
he
needed us
needed
to
us to
get
get
alone
alone
and
and
quiet
quiet
because he
because
wanted
he
to
wanted to
elevate us.
elevate us.
And when
And
you're
when
in
you're
a
in a
season of
season of
elevation,
elevation,
it's
it's
very
very
lonely,
lonely,
but it's
but it's
so
so
worth
worth
it.
it.
Yeah.
I
I
know
know
that
that
I am not the
not the
same
same
Nina
Nina
that
that
left
left
Ardmore,
Ardmore,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Paul is
Paul
not
is
the
not the
same
same
Paul
Paul
that left
that left
Ardmore,
Ardmore,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
But
But
had
had
we
we
not
not
left
left
Ardmore,
Ardmore,
Pennsylvania,
Pennsylvania,
we
we
would
would
not
not
be
be
who we
who we
are
are
now.
now.
Because
Because
let me tell
let me
y'all
tell y'all
something.
something.
I have to
I have to
freeze a lot
freeze
of
a
the
lot of
food
the
I
food I
cook
cook
because
because
I
I
still
still
cook
cook
as if
as
people
if
just
people
gonna
just
come
gonna
over
come over
every day.
every day.
I
I
cook like
cook like
that.
they
Where they
where
at?
Right.
And
and
my
my
brain
brain
hasn't
hasn't
shifted.
shifted.
It just
It just
hasn't
hasn't
shifted
shifted
because
because
I'm
I'm
I'll just
I'm
be
just be
cooking like
cooking
where the
like where
people at.
people at.
And I
And
was
I was
putting the
putting the
greens in
greens in
bags and
bags and
folding them
folding them
up,
up
so I can
so I
freeze
can
them
freeze them
today
today
because
because
I am
I am
so
so
used
used
to my
to my
habit,
habit,
Jason,
Yeah.
people
people
being
being
here
here
all the
all the
time.
time.
But we're
But we're
not in
not
a
in a
season
season
of
of
now.
now.
I
I
believe that
believe
we're
that we're
getting ready to
getting
go
ready to
back
go
into a
back into a
season where
season
we
where
are
we are
able to
able to
have that
have that
around us
around us
again.
again.
But there
But
was
there
a
was a
period of
period of
time that we
time that
had
we
to
had
come
to come
away
away
from that
from that
so that
so that
God could
God could
elevate us.
elevate us.
Right.
Some of
Some of
y'all in
y'all
people's
in
faces too
faces
much.
too much.
And he's
And
trying
he's
to tell
trying to
you to
tell you
sit
to
your
sit your
behind
behind
still
still
somewhere so that he
so
can
that he can
elevate
elevate
you.
you.
Right.
Because if
Because
you're
if you're
around
around
people
people
that
that
don't
don't
want what
want what
you
you
want,
want,
you're around
you're
the
around
wrong
the wrong
people.
people.
Right.
And
Right.
when
And
I
when I
look
look
at
at
the
the
people that
people
I've
that
had
I've
my
had my
last
last
5 real
real
conversations with,
conversations with,
I
I
tell you
tell
right
you right
now,
now,
I'm
I'm
glad
glad
because
because
I can
I
see
can
my
see
level
my
of
level of
growth.
growth.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
don't even,
y'all, and I
y'all,
know
and
it's
I
a
know it's a
bad thing.
bad
I
thing.
don't
I
sit on
don't
the
sit
phone
on
with
the
my
phone with my
mama all
mama
day,
all
every
day, every
day.
day. I don't.
I just
I
don't.
just don't.
We call
We
our
call our
grandma.
grandma.
We
We
check in
check
for
in for
pay.
pay.
Make sure I
Make
make
sure I make
pay.
pay.
Make sure she
Make sure she
FaceTimes
FaceTimes
my
my
mom and
mom and
dad so
dad
that
so
we
that
can
we
kind of
can
get
kind
our
of get our
hellos in
hellos
there
in there
because I
because
am
I am
focused.
focused.
And your
And your
family
family
will
will
respect
respect
you
you
when
when
you
you
respect
respect
you.
you.
Mm-hmm.
I hope
I
some
hope
of
some
y'all
of y'all
caught that.
caught that.
Yeah.
Your
Your
family
family
and
and
friends
friends
will
will
respect
respect
you
you
and
and
your
your
boundaries
boundaries
when
when
you
you
respect
respect
you.
you.
Right.
So my
So my
family,
family,
they don't
they don't
call me
call
at
me
8
at 8
o'clock
o'clock
because
because they know
they
they
don't
don't
even know
even
that the
know that the
calls right
calls right
now
now
have been
have been
pre-recorded
pre-recorded
and that
and that
they're
they're
displaying.
displaying.
They
They
think
think
I'm
I'm
live,
live,
but
but
because they
because they
respect
respect
me and
me and
what
what
I
I
do,
do,
they
they
don't
don't
bother me
bother me
at 8
at 8
o'clock.
o'clock.
You
You
understand
understand
what
what
I'm
I'm
saying?
Yeah.
saying?
Because they
Because
know
they
it's
know it's
important to
important to
me.
me.
But when
But
you
when you
playing with
playing
what
with
you
what you
got,
got,
they don't
they don't
respect you.
respect you.
They don't
They don't
respect
respect
because
because
what?
what?
You
You
playing with
playing
it.
with it.
Right.
When
When
you
you
respect
respect
you,
you,
your
your
family and
family
your
and your
friends
friends
will
will
respect you. Now
respect you.
they
Now they
gonna
gonna
buck
buck
in the
in the
beginning,
beginning,
but
but
after they
after they
buck,
buck,
I
I
promise
promise you,
they will
they will
respect you,
respect
and
you,
then
and
they
then they
won't
won't
even let
even let
other
other
people
people
interrupt
interrupt
what
what
God is
God is
doing in
doing
your
in your
level of
level of
elevation and
elevation
growth.
and growth.
Hope that
Hope
helps
that
you.
helps you.
Oh yeah.
Hope that
Hope
helps
that
you.
helps
Oh
you.
Thanks so
yeah.
much
Thanks so
for
much
coming
for
in the
coming in the
studio.
studio.
We're gonna
We're
go
gonna
ahead
go
and
ahead
get
and get
off
off
of
of
here.
here.
Jason,
Jason,
you
you
always
always
bringing bars.
bring
Always.
bars.
Thank you for
Always. Thank
coming
you
in the
for coming in
studio.
the
So
studio.
listen, you guys, listen. No matter what you're going through in life, you got to take them down, Paul. You got to remember that you can live again, laugh again, hope again, dream again, and you most certainly can bling again. I want you to have a bling-tastic rest of your evening, a bling-tastic week. Pay it forward. Do a good deed. Be kind to one another. All right, you guys? And most of all, subscribe. Subscribe to Bling TV 3765. And also make sure that you go to my website, ninarmorer.com. ninarmorer.com. And just go ahead and register over there. You guys, I want to make sure that no matter what, I'm able to stay in contact with you. You never know when I'm going to be doing some events that you might want to know about, that you'll be able to find out about on ninarmorer.com. My website is actually being updated. So just bear with us while we get some updates done to it, but I am still able to collect your emails. So go and register, you guys. And I'm just so grateful that all of you decided to stop by here. Make sure next Monday you invite somebody else. Bring a friend as we dive into chapter 4 of Think and Grow Rich. Just know that I love you and there's absolutely nothing you could do about it. Good night and God bless you all. See you next Monday.